Gurren Lagann. It's a pretty popular show. You might have heard about it. Released in 2007 by the same famous studio that is known for Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gurren Lagann is a futuristic apocalypse of a world where disenfranchised humans learn to rise up out of their subterranean homes to overthrow the beastmen and giant robots who rule over them. There's plenty of talk of what being a man is, gratuitous amounts of fan service, and pretty much a textbook example of narrative power creep where they start with one guy and a samurai sword versus a 5-story tall robot and end with robots the size of universes throwing each other into galaxies. But today we're not focusing on the show itself. Oh no, we're not going to discuss how it contains some of the most emotional moments from anime in the 2000s or the worst narrative use of a time jump from the same era, no. Today we are going to be talking about dubs, English dubs, and about how there are several for this show. Several that you might not have heard before. Obviously, if you fall on the side of subs are the best and only way to watch and enjoy anime side of the decades-old and now somewhat stale sub versus dub debate, then today's topic won't interest you. But if you are one of those who is somehow capable of enjoying a good English dub, then I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy. For today, on Glass Reflection, we are going to be taking a look at the English dubs of Gurren Lagann for a brief view of what could have been. Let's jam. First, it's probably best to start off with some history. Specifically, the history you know. Gurren Lagann originally aired in Japan between April and September of 2007, while here in the West, the license for the series is currently in the hands of Aniplex of America, as it has been since 2013. The English dub of the series that everybody is familiar with was produced in 2008, back when the license was held by Bandai. For the dub, though Bandai had been known to work with production companies such as Animax for their dubs, in this particular case, they went with the now well-known team over at Bang Zoom, who have released an absolutely massive amount of anime dubs over the years. This dub brought in a number of well-known anime voices from the California area, Yuri Lowenthal, Kyle Hebert, and Michelle Ruff, to name a few. Overall, it was a completely solid production that went on to help the series gain even further popularity in the West. But this was not the first time that Lagann had been dubbed. While Bandai held the license to Gurren Lagann in 2008, it actually wasn't theirs first. In 2007, it was actually picked up by the now defunct but still recognizable ADV Films. After acquiring the license, work began on an English dub for home video release. The dub picked up a director, cast its initial roles, and dubbed a whole 5 episodes. Why 5? Well, probably because this is around the time when dubs were produced on a disc-by-disc basis. You know, back when they put 4 to 5 episodes on one disc and sold it for like $40 to $50 a pop. That shit got expensive real fast. Shortly after this, however, due to contract disputes that we will probably never know the full details of, ADV lost the rights to Lagann and the dub was never completed. However, episodes still exist in some form and eventually made their way into my hands through a totally not back-alley transaction with unsavory types. So let's take a gander, shall we?
Hold on a sec. I've got a shot at his transmission system. If I can shoot out the conduit, he'll stop moving. Gotcha.
Hey, fat face! Hope you're ready to be blown to smithereens!
So, for the main trio of characters in the early episodes, instead of the more familiar Lowenthal, Hebert, and Ruff, we got instead Josh Grell as Simon. Not Simone, Simon. Oh, dub translations. Brett Weaver as Kamina, and the lovely Tiffany Grant as Yoko. Here's the thing, though. This dub is really weird to listen to nowadays, mostly because it is not a bad dub. I have zero qualms with the Bang Zoom dub, and I am quite happy that it did get produced in the end, but the ADV dub and cast were solid, and the performances, while very different from the Bang Zoom cast, were still quite in line with the characters as we know them. Of course, there are some noticeable differences. Take, for example, the character of Liron, the colorful mecha mechanic. For comparison's sake, here's a clip of the Bang Zoom dub.
I just had a thought. It's entirely possible that people used to live up here on the surface a long time ago.
You're kidding.
Some records say they did, and others say they didn't.
Which is it?
A bit of both, like how I'm kind of man and woman.
Yeah, whatever. Who are you anyway?
I'm Leron, but you can call me Ron. Or you could call me Beautiful Queen if you like.
I'd rather die!
Now, same character, but this time in the ADV dub.
Actually, we have reason to believe that back in ancient times, we humans lived our entire lives on the surface.
They did, huh?
Well, some records indicate that they did, and others don't.
Well, which is
It's
it?
kind of like how I could be a man or a woman.
I don't care either way. It's just who are you?
I'm Leron. You can call me Ron, or Beautiful Queen works in a pinch as well.
Now digging way you.
Very different takes on the same character. Neither is bad, and really it all comes down to personal preference. Or would if the ADV dub was ever fully completed. There's also some roles we don't have examples of. Like frequently mentioned in cast listings is Lucy Christian as the artificial girl Nia. However, since Nia doesn't show up until episode 9, that episode never got dubbed by ADV, so we'll never actually know her take on the character. But who knows how it could have sounded. Maybe perhaps like that other dub of Gurren Lagann.
But please, don't harm this person, I beg you!
Don't worry. We've been given orders not to kill no one. Down
Don't worry about me, okay? I know I'll be just fine. Simon, you don't need to be your brother. I think you're perfect just as you are.
Okay, so Animax is an anime licensing company that mainly works in Southeast Asia and other places like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. They too produced a dub for Gurren Lagann. However, as you might have guessed, it's definitely not the best produced of the bunch. I only have one particular episode of the dub, as Animax dubs traditionally have only been broadcast on their networks, are not usually recorded, and definitely are not available for streaming in most cases. But they do have a particular history of dubbing shows on a shoestring budget, so we can only imagine how this dub might have sounded in its entirety. But before we go, here's a palate cleanser with Tiffany Grant as Yoko, because honestly, as much as I do love Ruff's take in the Bang Zoom dub, out of all of the actors available for ADV in Texas, Grant sounding like Asuka Soyu from Evangelion is just great casting here.
Ah, this is so comfortable.
Get off! I can't breathe! How can you be so heavy? Do you store your brains in your ass, you crazy female?
My, what a nasty mouth you've got. How about we clean that out with a taste of my special dumpling bullet?
Hey, wait! That's a...
So there you have it, some examples of what could have been, and a brief look into the history of dubbing for one of the best mecha anime around. If you want to watch a really old video of myself talking about Gurren Lagann, the show, there'll be a little thingy there up in the corner for you to click on. And while the dub that we have been highlighting here today is unfortunately not available anywhere legally, the official Bang Zoom dub is, and that can be purchased via the show's current licensor, Aniplex, at all places where good anime is sold. Plus, it's available for streaming over at Crunchyroll, and if you need a free 14-day trial of their premium service, feel free to click on that in the description. Happy to help out those that need it. So thank you very much for watching this video, and if you liked it and you want to see more of this style, be sure to give this video a like and let me know down in the comments. A very special thank you to all of our patrons who make these videos possible, specifically Joshua Garcia, Calhoun Boy, Matthew Robertson, Hector Montemayor, Sir Yamako, Ryfan Bonaparte, and Rune Jacobson for being especially awesome. And until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, watch more anime and stay frosty.